Hi, vinyl community. Welcome back. This is Luke with Hot Wax and Cool Vinyl. This video is Vinyl Finds 2018 February edition. I know I've been watching a lot of the vinyl finds on the channels that I subscribe to, and was inspired in particular by one of them, Richard Riley's channel. I left a link below in the comments. Check it out. I think you'll really enjoy his presentation, and not to mention the choices that he had. So without further ado, Vinyl Finds 2018. I happen to live on Long Island, in particular on the east end of Long Island. We are a beach and boating community, so as you can well imagine, there is not a whole lot going on in February, which limits the choices to go crate diving. I chose my local Salvation Army because they're inexpensive. Normally don't have a whole lot of success there. Occasionally, yeah, but not normally. I must have just hit it right. It was a Saturday morning. It was 10 o'clock. I walked in and went to their record selection and really was very pleasantly surprised. Let me show you what I got. Probably my least favorite Zeppelin album. I have one in my collection already. It's sealed. As I said, one of my least favorite of Zeppelins. But this one was there. It was good. Nice clean copy. Sleeves are good. The vinyl is also nice and clean. I don't know if you can see all of it, but it's pretty clean. Not a whole, just some superficial scratches, normal, typical stuff, but it plays clean without a whole lot of noise on it after a bath. All of these really needed a bath, but that's pretty typical when you find them in thrift stores. The next one, Tina Turner, Private Dancer. This woman has an amazing voice. I don't recall if Private Dancer came out prior to or after her participation in Mad Max. Tina, if you're listening, you have an amazing voice, but you really made a terrible choice in going and doing Mad Max 3. Just horrible. Also, I didn't really know that much about this album, or for that matter, even Jonah Jones. I just started getting into jazz about 3 years ago. So picked this up, really pleasantly surprised by the sound. It's what I have come to term commercial jazz or pop jazz of the era. That's probably the incorrect term. If you have the correct one, I'd love to know it. But you know, it was the type of jazz that crossed over, played on radio stations, and it was just, it's a great, fun, easy sound, and it's a good record. I like it. And next up, in honor of the Olympics that just started in Seoul, I really couldn't pass this up, and I'll explain why in a little bit later on. But I have the 1984 LA Games soundtrack, and this is the 1976 Montreal Summer Games overture, the closing, the closing ceremony, the official ceremonies music. I gave it a listen, and it's really an interesting album in the sense that it's kind of one of those albums you put on and you have on in the background if you're working around the house or whatever. You know, it's just a really nice overture. It's a pleasant sound that you don't have to really sit down and focus on because of the intricacies. And it's just a nice, great Sunday afternoon as you're having a cup of coffee and reading the paper record. The Supremes. Where Did Our Love Go? I actually have a copy of this already, but this one had to shrink on it. The record was nice. There wasn't a whole lot of scratches to it. The Motown label is bright and clear. There's not a lot of spindle marks or anything like that. the vinyl. I try to get the best light for you to see. Again, always going to have a little bit of superficial scuffs, but plays very little noise, and a great little record to have. And this cover's in better condition than mine, so I went with it. Ray Charles, The Greatest Hits. Not really a big Ray Charles fan. I appreciate his talent, but you know, a Greatest Hits and maybe one or two others is really all is that I need in my collection. But this one had partial shrink still on it. It's in better condition than the one that's in my collection. So it's going in, and my other one is going to go in my Discogs store, my eBay store, or just as a donation. Soundtrack, really interesting. Very similar in philosophy to the Olympics Overture. Great cover, just really awesome looking cover. This is just really nice. I mean, the great artwork on it, and I don't have qual if I actually ever saw the movie. I've certainly heard of it, but a great, you know, Western film soundtrack. Everything you expect in a Western soundtrack, you find in this. And very much like the album with the Olympics, put it on in the background and go about your business for the day. B.B. King. Anytime you can find a B.B. King album at a thrift store and it's in good shape, grab it. This one is, I have a copy of this one. This one's going to be traded or you know, sold, but it's in good shape, cover's good, spine is nice and tight. The vinyl on this is also in good shape. It's the ABC Dunhill, ABC Records, not the Dunhill Records, but you can see again well, if you can see, I don't know if with a reflection of it's going to bother, but plays really well, very, very little noise, and couldn't pass it up. Besides, it's B.B. King. I mean, seriously, you can't pass it up. Ray Campi, Rockin' at the Ritz. Rockabilly album. I had not heard of this guy before, but I grabbed the record because it looked really interesting. And also grabbed the record, and a lot of these records that you see down there, because I don't know what your Salvation Army charges. Mine charges 49 cents a record. And when I find records like this or anything of interest that looks playable, and I clean them when I come home. I use my spin clean to clean them. But if it looks like it's playable, it looks like it's not gouged or just, you know, superficial scuffs and scratch, and it looks interesting, I grab it because it's 49 cents. I mean, you know, and if I don't like it, I can either put it in a pile to trade, or if it's just really scuffed up, I'll throw it out or use it as wall art in you know, somewhere in the closet. But this happens to be a really great rockabilly album if you like the Stray Cats or any really that kind of rockabilly, and you run across a copy of this. It's not very expensive. It's I think $5 or $6 median price point on Discogs. It's a fun listen. It really is. And then finally, the Beach Boys, the 15 big ones from the Beach Boys. Out here, where I am, Beach Boys and the Beatles are treated as if they are the rarest form of music known to mankind. This was missing in my collection because I simply couldn't find a decent copy that wasn't overpriced, quite honestly. For whatever reason, you know, you come on the island and you can't seem to find it. If it's in decent shape, a Beatles record or a Beach Boys record, no matter how common they are, it's at least $10. I mean, you know, so if you're fortunate, you run across them in the thrift store like I did with this, or you know, you buy them out of collections when you buy the whole collection, which is the way I've gotten a lot of my harder to find Beach Boys stuff, Pet Sounds, etc. So this is the first section of my vinyl finds for February. There were actually another 10 or 15 albums, which I'll do in a subsequent video. I really try diligently to keep these videos short, under 13 or 14 minutes, because I just use myself as a barometer. I very rarely watch a 28 or 25-minute video all the way through from start to finish, especially on record channels, because, I mean, as interesting as it may be, it's just time consuming. So I try to keep these narrowly focused and short. So I'll do this one on these 10, and then I'll do another one on the other purchases that I made, which includes some pretty cool psychedelic 60s rock stuff. So until next time, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think of these finds, whether you think they're cool, whether you think they're or anything that crosses your mind. I always love to hear from other record collectors and get as much insight as I can, because it helps me when I go out and look for records, or it helps me find stuff that I've not heard of or not known before. And so, love to hear from you guys. Let me know. Leave me a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll speak to you soon. Have a great week.